One thing I want to make abundantly clear, and it doesn't matter if it's Eric Neander or Jason Light or Julian Breezebaugh, and it doesn't matter if I'm saying this or anybody out there, you're allowed to have an opinion that is differing from the majority. We're all not robots, right? Everybody's not going to think exactly the same. That's okay. We're entitled to our opinions. It's just the way it goes. Now, it may not be a popular opinion, but who cares? Like, that's what makes us all different and unique. Now, once you start crossing the line and name calling and just being terrible to each other, that's a completely different conversation altogether. But for me, I am not just going to sit here while I have this platform and just take everything that these general managers do and say, I agree with every single thing. I concur with all of these decisions. It doesn't mean that I don't give them the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't mean I don't trust them, but it's just the way it goes, man. I'm an opinionated person. That's why I do what I do. I said this the last couple of weeks, and just because they made the pick at 19, my decision does not change. My opinion does not change. I don't think that was the right pick at number 19. I don't. Do I think Emeka Egbuka is a great player? I think he can be. I love the player. I love the guy. And he is cut from the same cloth. He is cut from the same cloth like the guy like Chris Godwin. I don't dispute that whatsoever. But where does Emeka Egbuka excel? In the slot. Can he play the outside? Yes. But who does that sound like? Chris Godwin, right? Remember when Chris Godwin was in the Dave Canales-led offense, and he did not seem like the same guy that we saw in years past. Look at him last year in the Liam Cohen offense, playing a bunch of the snaps out of the slot before he got hurt. He was on track for being maybe a Triple Crown winner. And you go out and you get a guy in that spot. I know you're doing it as an injury in case those guys go down again. But, man, are you really drafting to plan on your both top receivers going down? Like, no team in the league is going to be firing on all cylinders if their top two wideouts go down. Ask Philadelphia when they lost A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith for a while, right? If Miami loses Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, are they going to be still firing on all cylinders? What about the Cincinnati Bengals with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? Like, I don't know if you can necessarily plan for that. I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to do. You're fortifying your offense. I get that. You're helping, and it's a contingent in case these guys get injured. I understand that. But you have a lot of holes on defense. The defense is where you need to pick up the slack. You got to get a pass rusher. You got to get an inside linebacker. You got to get a corner. I wouldn't hate a safety. I wouldn't hate a defensive tackle. That's 5 positions on defense I would have taken instead of a wide receiver. I thought it was a luxury pick. That was a clear best player available selection. And I don't know if they would have made that pick. I don't know if they would have picked another wide receiver if it wasn't Emeka Egbuka. And that, to me, shows that I just don't agree with the selection. I don't. When you have holes on defense, then you got to make the selection there. If your defense was that good, then I don't think – then I wouldn't have much of an issue with the pick of Emeka Egbuka at number 19. When you have as much trouble rushing the passer as you have the last couple of years, you can't honestly think that just one guy is going to make a difference with Hassan Reddick. He's going to help, no doubt. But is Yaya Diaby that guy? Maybe. We haven't seen it. Is Chris Braswell that guy? I didn't see much last year. You're banking on a lot of guys to progress in positions that you've had real struggles the last couple of seasons. And now all of a sudden you just think that, all right, those guys are going to blossom and bloom and develop in a way where your pass rush is going to be a top, 10 in the league, top half of the league. That is a really, really, that's big time hope. That's wishful thinking. Your linebacker position, there's a lot of hope on the defensive side. I don't like that. I don't like that you're dealing with hope on the defense. I want known commodities. I want guys that are going to be able to do the job. You hope that Braswell gets better. You hope that a guy like Yaya Diaby takes that next step. He thinks he's an elite pass rusher. I don't. He hasn't had a 10-sack season yet. Until you do that, then you can't consider yourself an elite pass rusher. Kalijah Kancey wants to lead the league in sacks. That's great. I want to be 6'7" and be able to dunk a basketball and throw 97. The hope isn't going to get me there. I'm sorry. And I know, and Bucs fan here, Evans and Godwin are going anywhere. The Bucs want 4 solid wide receivers. I get that, but the Bucs don't even play 4 wideouts a ton. They're one of the lowest numbers teams in the league. They use 4 receivers as low as anybody. You're doing that just based on experience of guys getting hurt. I don't know if that's really a smart thing to do. I really don't. What does that say about a guy like Trey Palmer? It shows that they don't have a ton of faith in him, that he's going to be one of the guys to be able to contribute in a big way, because you have to understand, if Trey Palmer made that kind of step up in his game last year, when Mike and Chris were out, they're not making this today. They're not making this, or yesterday. They're not making that move. But I got to be honest. I don't. My opinion of picking a receiver at 19 doesn't change just because Jason Light picked Emeka Egbuka last night in round 1 of the NFL draft. I still think they should have went to the defensive side of the ball, because even if they picked a defender at 19 on Thursday night, they still wouldn't be done on that side of the ball. They still have to go out and get more guys. They still need a corner. They still need an inside linebacker. They still need an edge rusher. Go get a safety. Go get a defensive tackle. And again, I don't hate the player. I love the player. I think Emeka Egbuka, he's probably going to be good for the Buccaneers. I just don't love the pick right there. Because if he let's say everybody's healthy. And of course, this means you don't have to rush Chris Godwin back. I get that. But what if he is ready for week 1? And you have Evans and Godwin and Jalen McMillan. You got a guy in Emeka Egbuka is he going to be out there for the first offensive snap in 2025? There's no guarantee. I want a guy that I'm drafting at number 19 that's going to be in there starting week 1, no doubt about it. Maybe he's in a battle with one other guy like we've seen in years past with a guy like Graham Barton, right? Last year we saw it against Robert Hainsey. We saw Bucky Irving not start. He came in, obviously, midway through the season and really kind of supplanted Rachaad White as the number 1 tailback. But I don't know if we look at this spot right here and say that this was the smartest pick to get this team ready on the defensive side of the ball for week 1. Now, it's not that I think that Jason Light's a bad GM. I don't think it was a horrible pick. It's just not a pick that I would make. It's a pick where I think they should have went on the defensive side of the ball. They should have fortified the defense. And for all this talk of, Jason Light has earned the benefit of the doubt, I get that, and I understand. But with that being said, this is a big year for the Buccaneers. Because if you make the playoffs once again and then you get bounced in the first round again because your defense can't pick up the slack, what are we going to be saying this time next year? The Lightning are in that category right now. The Lightning are in that spot as we speak, where all the good vibes of the championship are slowly dissipating. They're quickly dissipating now. And I have people commenting on my posts on social media saying that there needs to be big time changes with the coach or the GM or the players. This is a team that just won back-to-back cups a couple of years ago. But a third straight first-round exit, people want change. And we love what Jason Light has done. Don't get me wrong. But if the defense doesn't really take steps, excuse me. But if the defense doesn't really take steps forward this year, who is going to be to blame? It's going to be Todd Bowles. It's going to be Jason Light. It's going to be the players, right? And we're going to look back at decisions that were made during the draft and during free agency and wondering if they should have went in a different direction. Again, I love the player. I think Emeka Egbuka is going to be a fantastic pro, and I think he's going to be pretty good for the Buccaneers. But it doesn't mean that they couldn't have utilized that pick in a different way to help them in a spot where they desperately need more assistance, more production, more consistency, more reliability. We'll see. We'll see what happens in round 2 and beyond, but this is just round 1. This is just my initial reaction to the entire thing. And listen, I hope he does well. I hope that everybody stays healthy. I hope this is an offensive attack that we saw in the Super Bowl back in 2020. I love that. But let's not forget, as much as they did have Evans and Godwin and AB and Gronk and all those guys, they also had JPP on the outside. They also had Ndamukong Suh, right? They also had Devin White playing like a first-round pick. They also had Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting and all these guys at the height of their powers with a great rookie in Antoine Winfield Jr. So as much as everybody wants to say, hey, you look at that offensive side of the ball and what he can do, I understand that. But defensively, let's not forget, that was the side of the ball that won him the Super Bowl.